breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warm and fuzzy hello! Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. We've got an excellent podcast for you, as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, Curtis Rogers, who does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports. We're going to chat it up with them about what we're all seeing out of the Seattle Mariners right now, that very, very, very murky American League landscape, and the fact that the Red Sox have now won 13 straight games, so yay verily to them. And then in the final segment, I'm going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Sunday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, whatever for this podcast, you do have one or two ways we fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, RCM, name does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And then the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions, we had ourselves a great day of baseball on Saturday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
We unfortunately did not get Yankees versus Dodgers, but what we did get was the Cubs taking down the Minnesota Twins. This by a count of 6-2. Taj Bradley was playing games with us. 5 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. Michael Busch cranked him deep. 12th home run of the campaign. Matthew Boyd, a really good start here. Gives up a solo home run to Cody Clemens. 17th of the season. Gives up that 1 run in 6 innings. Clemens would then go deep off of Caleb Theobar. His 18th home run of the season. Theobar gives up that solo home run in his inning work. Trent Thornton, Jacob Webb, they both landed scoreless inning. And Mike Paredes, he gives up 1 run over the course of 2 innings. Kendrys Rojas, he was able to come in for a shutout inning, but too little too late there. Shock, surprise, surprise, the Mets lost again. 6-1, the Philadelphia Phillies get the job done here. Jesus Luzardo gives up a home run to Tyrone Taylor, 7th home run season. That'd be the lone Mets run of the game, and for Ryan Kirkering, Jose Alvarado, they both give you a scoreless inning. Chase Sugar, 2 shutout innings, and Sean Manaea gives up 4 runs in 4 2/3 innings as he was taken deep in this one by Kyle Schwarber, his 33rd Schwarber bomb of the season. Then Trey Turner down for 12th home run season. Kodai Senga, 2 runs allowed in 1 1/3 innings. Xavier Curry, 2 shutout innings, but way too little, way too late there, and this was your low-scoring game of the day. You only had 1 total run in this one, as for the Toronto Blue Jays, they knocked off the Chicago White Sox by a count of 1-0. Shane Bieber has been awful this season. 6 shutout innings out of him. Jeff Hoffman, Tyler Rogers, Louis Varlin, they all landed scoreless inning, and Davis Martin was great. 1 run allowed in 5 2/3 innings. John Newcomb, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. Jordan Hicks, 8 scoreless inning, but absolutely nothing doing at the plate for the Chicago White Sox. Not a lot doing at the plate as well for the Cincinnati Reds, as they were on to a 10-3 loss against the Colorado Rockies. Rhett Lauder made some noise in the wrong way. 8 runs allowed in 2 1/3 innings. From there, the bullpen wasn't bad. Caleb Ferguson does give up 2 runs in his inning of work as he was taken deep by TJ Bromfield. 13th home run season, but you had Sam Moll, Pierce Johnson, both give you a scoreless inning. Julian Garcia, he comes in for 2 2/3 innings scoreless, but Tamayuki Sugano, solid start here. 3 runs allowed over the course of 6 1/3 innings. Jose Trevino goes deep twice. His 2nd and 3rd home runs of the campaign. Juan Mejia, he gives you a pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Brendan Bernardino, Zach Agnos, they were both able to turn a scoreless inning of their own, and it took 11 innings in this one, but for the Baltimore Orioles, they do find a way to persevere, get the job done over the Houston Astros, this by a count of 4-2. For the Orioles, they were able to get a pretty nice start here, as it was 6 1/3 innings for Trevor Rogers. He was in the neighborhood for 1 run and 8 punch-outs from their Uncle Rico Garcia. Pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Ynier Cano, Tyler Wells, they both pitch Wells for a scoreless inning. Andrew Kittredge gives up an unearned run in the 10th inning after you had an unearned run given up by Steven Okert in the 10th inning. Cam Sanders, he had a scoreless 11th to be able to polish that one away, and Spencer Arrighetti did walk 4 in 5 innings, but it did not upchuck Mom's spaghetti. He gives up 1 run. From there, AJ Blubaugh, 2 shutout innings. Brian Abreu, Josh Hader both give you a scoreless inning, and then Aniel De Los Santos, 2 runs, 1 of which was earned, given up in the 10th inning, and that was doomsday for the Astros. For the Arizona Diamondbacks, they gave doomsday to the St. Louis Cardinals, 5-3. They get the job done here. Brandon Pfaadt battled his way through 5 1/3 innings, gave up 2 runs along the way. Jonathan Loaizaga, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless, same for Ryan Thompson. Braden Garcia in out scoreless, Kevin Ginkel scoreless inning, and then Paul Sewald well, he gives up a home run. He's not very trustworthy, as it was home run number 3 of the campaign for the pinch hitter and backup catcher Jimmy Crooks. But for the St. Louis Cardinals, it was Mayday. Dustin May, 5 runs allowed in 5 innings. Gordon Gassefo, Justin Brule, Matt Savanson, they all ended scoreless inning, but way too little, way too late there. For the Milwaukee Brewers, they put out a nice expose. 8-6, they take down the Miami Marlins as Max Meyer. 2 runs allowed, but he only goes 3 innings in this one. Jacked up his pitch count, and I think that there was a precautionary injury in there as well. Kate Gibson, Tyler Zuber, they both give you a scoreless inning, and then Calvin Fauché. 4 runs allowed in 2/3 of an inning. Ryan Gusto in long relief. 2 runs, one of which was earned in 2 1/3 innings, and Shane Drone does give up 3 runs in 6 innings, but you also had Abner Uribe, Trevor McGill, both give you a scoreless inning. Craig Yoho made a mess out of things. 3 runs allowed in an inning as Griffin Conine, 7th home run of the campaign, but the Brewers actually went 5 of 21 with men in scoring position in this one. I think that they stole something like 7 bags. So the Brewers, they are now 61-37, and the Kansas City Royals are not that, but hey, they get a 6-1 win over the San Diego Padres. Griffin Canning, 4 runs allowed in 3 2/3 innings. He gives up a home run to Mr. Lane Thomas, 9th home run season, and Salvador Perez, 12th home run of the campaign. That comes off of Matt Waldron. Gives up 2 runs in 2 1/3 innings. Ron Marinaccio, Johnny Brito were both able to give you a scoreless inning, and Randy Dominic, not bad here. 4 1/3 innings. He allows a run. That 1 run, Fernando Tatis Jr. finally gets a home run, his 6th of the campaign. Rest of the team was very solid. Daniel Lynch, 2 shutout innings. Beck Way, Eli Morgan both give you a scoreless inning, and Steven Cruz, a pair of outs out of the bullpen, scoreless, being able to cruise a victory. How about the Walker Texas Rangers? 7-6, they take down the Atlanta Braves. Mackenzie Gore does get quite gored in this one. 5 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings as he gives up a pair of bombs. Eli White, 5th home run of the campaign. Michael Harris, his 17th, but bullpen at his back. Tyler Alexander gives up a run in an inning. Jacob Junis, Robbie Elstrom, they combine for a trio of scoreless. Jacob Latz, 1 1/3 inning scoreless, and Owen Murphy, not long for this game. 3 runs, 2 of which were earned in 2 2/3 innings as he was taken deep by Jock Peterson, 16th home run of the campaign, and then you had Evan Carter get his 8th home run season. That comes off of Tyler Kinley, who gives up 3 runs in 1/3 of an inning. The Dodd father, Dylan Dodd, gives you a 1 1/3 inning scoreless. J.R. Ritchie, a scoreless inning. Dylan Lee gets a pair of outs out of the bullpen, allows a run, and then you had a trio of guys in Didier Fuentes, Raciel Iglesias, and Danny Young all end a scoreless inning, but too little too late out there. For the Boston Red Sox, it was not too little too late. They were down in this game 3 runs to the Tampa Bay Rays. It looked like that winning streak was going to come to an end. Nope, 12 in a row, 7-6. Red Sox get the job done. Ian Seymour probably wanted to lend more length here. 3 runs allowed in 3 innings, including a pair of bombs, as you had home runs number 14 and 15 of the season for Wilder Abreu. His 2nd home run would come off of Garrett Clevenger, who gives up that home run in 1/3 of an inning. And then you had home run number 3 for one of the young guns for this Boston Red Sox team, Jahmai Jones, who they just acquired from the Detroit Tigers. From there, Kevin Kelly, 2 shutout innings. Casey Lugamina gives up a run in an inning. Cole Sulzer, 2 unearned runs given up in 2/3 of an inning, and that got the bases relatively loaded up for our good friend Abreu, who was able to take that home run off of Garrett Clevenger, and then Cam Bouger, a scoreless inning. Patrick Sandoval, 5 runs, 4 of which were earned in 5 innings, as he was taken deep by Victor Mesa Jr., 6th home run of the campaign. Johnny DeLuca off of Ryan Watson, 6th home run season. Watson gives up that home run in 2 innings of work. Garrett Whitlock, Aroldis Chapman, they both turned a scoreless inning to be able to get that one to the window. Being able to get this one to the window was the Pittsburgh Pirates, and they do so twice in game number 1. 7-1 was the final, as you had Jared Jones give you a nice solid start. 9 strikeouts, 1 run allowed over the course of 5 innings. From there, Carmen Molzinski, 3 shutout innings. That saves the bullpen for game number 2. Isaac Madsen, he gives you a scoreless inning as well. And for the Pirates, you had Nick Gonzalez get his 5th home run of the campaign. That comes off of Gavin Williams. Williams also taken deep by the other Gonzalez, Jacob Gonzalez, newly acquired from the White Sox, his 3rd home run of the campaign. And then it was home run number 11 of the season for a guy that has really risen in Esmeralin Valdez. Hopefully I got that correct. Young 22-year-old with his 11th home run of the season for Williams. 11 punch-outs, but 5 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings on those 3 bombs. Matt Fessa did not have a fiesta. 2 runs allowed in 1 2/3 innings. And then Cody Hearer, he was able to give you 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, but too little too late there. And then in game number 2, it looked like the Pirates were going to get there, but the Guardians had other ideas. They erased a 3-0 lead in the latter half of the game. Pirates were up 3-0 going into the 8th inning. Guardians win by a count of 5-3. Travis Bazzana, a walk-off home run that came off of Dennis Santana, who's been awful this year. Gave up 2 runs in 1/3 of an inning, and this was pretty much a piecemeal game for Mason Montgomery. He was the opener, a shutout inning, and Christian Curtis in his MLB debut, 5 shutout innings in bulk. You like to see that. You don't mess with Yohan Ramirez, was not messed with. Pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Brandon Eiser then gives up 3 runs in 2/3 of an inning. Gregory Soto, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless, and Logan Allen was not long for this game either. 3 runs, 2 of which were earned in 3 1/3 innings. From there, 5 2/3 innings shutout from the Cleveland Guardians bullpen. Sean Armstrong, along with Colin Holderman, Cade Smith, Will Dion, and Franco Ailman were all able to give you a scoreless inning, and Eric Zabrowski, pair of outside the bullpen, scoreless. This is currently going on as I'm doing this. I have to have this up by midnight Pacific, 3 o'clock a.m. Eastern. Safe to record right now, though, because we're in the bottom of the 8th inning, and the Athletics are up 14-0. They're going to cover the run line. You've already got the over. JT Gin and Juice was tremendous. 6 1/3 innings, gave up just 1 hit. Hogan Ayers from there, a pair of outside the bullpen squirrels. Mark Leiter Jr. squirrels inning. Maybe the Nationals get a run or two in the ninth to make a window dressing, but Zach Littell, he just had to wear it in this one. He goes 6 innings, gives up 8 runs, all of which were earned, cranked deep by Tyler Soderstrom, 16th home run of the season. You had Jacob Wilson be able to get his 5th home run of the season, and Mr. Carlos Cortez was able to get home run number 7 of the season. Max Kranick came in for a pair of outs, and he gave up 5 runs, all of which were earned. Carson Palmquist, he came in for an inning. He gave up a run. The Athletics might get more than 14 because Jobert Vivas, that would be a position player, is currently pitching in the 8th inning. So not great there. This was pretty great, though. The Seattle Mariners, they storm back 4-3. They take down the San Francisco Giants in 10 innings. For the Mariners, they were down by a count of 3-0 going into the 7th. And then Colt Young had other ideas. 12th home run of the campaign that comes off of Logan Webb, who was great up until then. He only gives up 2 hits, but gives up 3 runs, all of which were earned in 6 2/3 innings. I don't know if there was like a single runner that he stranded on base. Might have been one, but yeah, that's rough. And then Brian Wu said woohoo to getting bailed out of giving up a pair of bombs. 3 runs, 2 of which were earned in his 6 innings. William Adames, 17th home run season. Rafael Devers, his 20th. Gabe Spire, Edward Pizarro, Andres Munoz, all turned scoreless innings. And then Jose Ferrer, a scoreless 10th inning. Meanwhile, Sam Antiges, a scoreless inning for the San Francisco Giants. Keaton Wynn out of the bullpen scoreless. Eric Miller was able to give you a scoreless inning. And then Dylan Smith gives up the walk-off winner. As for the Seattle Mariners, Julio Rodriguez, a sacrifice fly to be able to end this one. And for the Detroit Tigers, they take it to the LA Angels. They win this game by a count of 7-0. As for the Tigers, Tariq Skubal was tremendous in this one. 7 innings, 9 punch-outs, no runs allowed. From there, Jacob O'Geesback and Kyle Finnegan, they combined for a scoreless inning. Brendan Hennefy, I believe, fresh off the injured list, he was able to give you a scoreless inning. And Grayson Rodriguez, he gave up 6 runs in 4 innings. They all came in the first 2 innings as he was cranked deep by Spencer Torkelson. 17th home run season. Torkelson later on off of Brent Suter gets his 18th home run season, and for Suter, that'd be his own mistake. Gives up that 1 run in 3 innings. So say for me, 2 shutout innings, and if you had the over in this game was 6-0 in the top of the 2nd inning with a total in a lot of places of 8. So that was a little bit rough there, but the Angels do their part to be able to get you that under. And if you're taking a look at trend-wise, what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, it has been for the most part an overwhelming season, but all of a sudden the unders have the lead on the overs. 717 overs, 719 unders, and that serves me correct. I believe we've had 33 pushes, and favorites on the money line, they've been hitting at a little bit over 56%, 804 and 627 on the money line among those 804 favorites. So 190 have failed to cover the run line over the last few days ever since we have returned from the All-Star break. 25-18 is the record for favorites on the money line, with the under 8 being right around about 62%. 16 overs, 25 unders, and that serves me correct. We've had 3 pushes along the way as well. If you want a bigger sample size, last 30 days in Major League Baseball, the under 8 right around about 53.5%, 163 overs, 187 unders, and along the way, I believe we've had 16 pushes, and for favorites on the money line over the last 30 days, hitting at about 57.5%, 201 and 147 on the money line, and I've seen 52 of those favorites fail to cover the run line. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now. That's what we're getting trend-wise. Coming next, let's take a look at the American League landscape, the Seattle Mariners, and so much more with Curtis Rogers of 710 Seattle Sports, right here on the Baseball Betting Show. Myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Beats and Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here with LB Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Curtis Rogers aboard. He does such great work over at 710 Seattle Sports. He does the pre- and post-game hosting duties for the Seattle Mariners. He's dialed in on a little bit of everything happening out there in the Pacific Northwest, whether that be college basketball, the Seattle Seahawks, and so much more. You're able to follow him on Instagram and Twitter/X at A Kid from Kent all together. And Curtis, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much.
Greg, always happy to hop on with you. And yeah, we're past the All-Star break now. We are getting closer and closer to the August 3rd trade deadline. We're nearing the 100-game marker for a lot of these teams. And it feels like you can stop saying it's early because now we're, about 62, 60 games remaining in the regular season here. Things are going to speed up on everybody across Major League Baseball. So if you're going to make a move, if you're going to, make your way up the standings, that would be a very opportune time to do so.
Absolutely, and I'm sure that every team out there in the AL West is saying the exact same thing. And Curtis, how do you take a look at this AL West? Because I feel very safe in saying I don't think that the Angels will be able to win the division, but all teams not named the Angels, it feels like, are very alive. With the Houston Astros, they need more pitching, but they've clawed their way back. The Athletics feel like they're toilet blowing, but they've obviously got a good offense. You've got the Texas Rangers right now leading, and for the Mariners and the Texas Rangers, I feel like it's very similar. Pitching has been very good. Both need a little bit more on offense, though.
But yeah, the offense has really plagued both Texas and Seattle, like you mentioned. And the Mariners' offense has been it's been pretty brutal to watch at times this year. Let's be real, because you look at most of their team numbers, you're looking at a bottom five team offensively, and the production just doesn't add up to the names that you see on this roster. Julio Rodriguez, Cal Raleigh, Randy Arozarena, Josh Naylor, those are your big four in the lineup. And then they've also gotten very little out of Brendan Donovan because of his injuries this season. Cole Young has been a nice addition to the lineup after getting called up last year. Dom Canzone has looked good at times. Luke Raley got off to a fast start this year, but he slowed down a lot. But just the sum of their parts, for whatever reason, it has not clicked this season. And I don't know if it is, an approach thing. I don't know if it is just guys not being able to put up the numbers that we see on the back of their baseball card. But it has been a really tough go of it offensively for the Mariners. And that, I think, is the biggest reason why, as of Saturday, they're 2 games under 500. And looking up at the Rangers in the American League West now, everybody in the AL West seems to be not wanting to take advantage of all the losing that's gone on in the division, because Texas has not really jumped way out in front of everybody. Heck, the A's got blown out 23-4 on Friday night to the Washington Nationals. The Astros continue to lose, so it's right there for the taking. Anybody can have it, and I think right now, whoever makes, I think, the biggest move out of the 4 teams that are kind of jockeying for position in the AL West, whichever team makes the biggest move at the trade deadline, I think is going to set themselves up very nicely here for the final couple of months, to where they should be, whoever it is, they should be deemed as probably the favorite among the 4.
Yep, I do agree with you there. And when it comes to the Seattle Mariners, do you feel like this is going to be a team that makes a move at the trade deadline, or do you think they're going to stand back? Because it feels like they really are one of the few teams in all of baseball that don't need starting pitching, but we've seen a lot of attrition with that bullpen, and no doubt about it, they're probably going to need to have some help with that lineup.
Oh, yeah. The bullpen, I think, is the biggest need outside of, getting some right-handed hitting. And Jerry Dipoto, he spoke to the Seattle Times earlier this last week during the All-Star break, and had mentioned that the bullpen was the spot that he really wanted to improve over anything on this Mariners roster, because we got word prior to Friday's game against the Giants, Mariners GM Justin Hollander spoke to the media, gave some injury updates. And he said Matt Brash, who is probably the Mariners' best reliever, at least this season he's been their best reliever, he's going to be out probably until late August, early September, dealing with a lat issue that he's had over the last couple of months. Carlos Vargas, who was a big contributor last year for the Mariners, he has yet to appear in a game this season. He's likely out until August as well. Cooper Criswell, who pitched some big innings for them early on in the season, he's going to be probably around September when we'll see him back. So 3 big contributors to their bullpen. They're going to need some help for sure. I don't know if that looks like, maybe Aroldis Chapman. I know that's a big name that people have kind of thrown out as a potential addition for the Mariners. I know the Mariners have some hesitancy about adding Chapman, especially because of his history legally and also, some prior suspensions he's had at the big league level. I know Luke Weaver is a name that would probably be of big interest, especially because the Mets have kind of made it known across baseball that they will be open for business over the next couple of weeks. And Luke Weaver also was previously a Mariner under this front office, so there is some history there between all sides and between all parties. So maybe there's some interest in him for the Mariners. But yeah, I think the bullpen is where we're going to see the biggest action. But also Dipoto said something that I thought was really interesting. And I don't know if a lot of Mariners fans were encouraged by this, but he did say that he thinks the biggest addition the Mariners could possibly make at the deadline would be just to have the guys that they were anticipating big things from play up to their potential. So, I mean, it's not really an addition, but if you did get, the Cal Raleigh of, we can kind of flush any hope of being, 60 home run Cal Raleigh showing up. But, 2024 Cal Raleigh, 2023 Cal Raleigh, when he's hitting, 25 to 30 home runs, that would be ideal. But I don't even know if we're getting that. Julio Rodriguez he looks to be the guy that I think people have the most hope that he can turn it around. He tends to go nuts in the month of August and September. So that's a big hope for this Mariners team right now as they look to just inject any kind of offense into what has been a really, really underperforming season so far through about 100 games.
Yep, it certainly has been rough for the offense, but pitching continues to be there, and I think that it's going to be there once again on Sunday as we're doing this out of that Sunday game between the Giants and the Seattle Mariners. We do know that it's going to be Logan Gilbert against Robbie Ray, and while I talk about familiarity, I'm sure that there's a lot of Mariners fans that don't necessarily love Robbie Ray and the tenure that he had there, so I'm sure that they would absolutely love to stick it to him here on Sunday. And how do you take a look at Logan Gilbert and just how important this game is? Because a lot of these games in late July, a lot of people are thinking, oh, ho hum, there's still 60 games remaining. But you know as well as I do, for a lot of these teams in the American League, and it feels like the Seattle Mariners are right in that, shall we say, vector, these next 2 weeks are big, giant games for deciding whether or not you're going to be buyers, sellers, or standing pat. So they could really use this one, in my opinion.
Yeah, they are massive, especially for the Mariners. You look at their upcoming schedule. Their next series is against the Reds, who are not great, but they will face Chase Burns in that series. Burns has been phenomenal this season. He got a new deal. He's been everything the Reds could hope he would be this season. Once you get past that Red series, you look at the Mariners' upcoming schedule, 4 head-to-head with the first-place Rangers in Texas, 3 on the road against the Dodgers in Dodger Stadium, 3 at home against the Twins, who are tied with the Mariners, or were tied with the Mariners, for the third wild card entering the All-Star break. The trade deadline is after that Twins series, and then you've got 3 against the Tigers, who've been red hot as well. And then after that Tiger series, you play the Rays at home, and then you go out on the road and play the Yankees. And then also later in the month of August, you've got a series against the Brewers. I believe that one's on the road. And then you've got a home series against the Cubs and Phillies. All those games are in a row. It is going to ramp up significantly in terms of competition for this Mariners team. That makes this homestand to start the season second half of the utmost importance, because if you're not able to stack wins, if you go 2-4 or 1-5 on this homestand, the way that we have seen the Mariners go 2-4 and 1-5 in previous homestands, there's a chance this thing could maybe slip away from them because of the quality of opponents they're about to face. I get that, American League quality is not necessarily the same as National League quality, makes what we're seeing here this weekend with the Mariners and Giants and the Mariners and Reds starting next week of so much importance, because you've got to be able to stack some wins, because I think wins are going to be hard to come by over the next about 4 or 5 weeks for this Mariners ball club. And it's going to decide, I think, too, what they decide to do at the deadline. That's going to be a tough thing to balance. Like, how are they going to approach this deadline, knowing that there really aren't a lot of bats available, so that's going to make it tough for them to find the help that they need. But they have been very active at the deadline over the last 4 or 5 years. Luis Castillo in 2022, Randy Arozarena in 2024. Last year was Josh Naylor and Gino Suarez. So they've made big acquisitions in the past. I think a big acquisition is going to be the help that they need here to finish off the 2026 season and not be one of the bigger disappointments in the game.
Yep, I agree with you. And man, this American League is just so murky right now. We've really held it to the American League West. And when you take a look league-wide at the American League, is there 1 or 2 teams that you are feeling bullish on? Because the Red Sox, from out of absolutely nowhere whatsoever, have now won 12 straight games. They have won 3 straight against the Rays. I don't know how they're doing it. The other Sox, the White Sox, continue to hang in there in the American League Central. And that's about all the good that I had to say about the American League right now.
Yeah, right. And it's crazy how the Red Sox have been able to turn it on, and they're playing kind of how we expected them to play all year long. We knew the talent was there on the roster. The results just have been able to follow, and I think all of us kind of wrote them off. But here they are charging along, and I think they're definitely a team worth paying attention to here over the season's final couple of months. It looked like they were going to be a seller. I think they're back squarely in the buyer territory, especially because they are now above 500, which is a hard thing to say about many American League teams here in this 2026 season. How about the White Sox, too? I know we've talked about them a little bit, but I want to give a shout-out to Colson Montgomery, who has been one of the best power bats in all of baseball since getting the call-up last year. I believe he's got over 40 home runs in his first 162 games at the big league level. What a start he has been. What a find he has been. I get that the batting average isn't exactly sparkling, but he has added a lot of power to that lineup. Also, what a season it has been for Miguel Vargas. 21 bombs this year, playing in the All-Star game. That White Sox team, Greg, I know that, they don't have a lot of name value amongst, casual baseball observers, but that is a team certainly worth paying attention to, especially how good their pitching has been. That White Sox team is definitely, I think, going to be in this race for the long haul. I don't see them going away because I think by now we all kind of thought they would have faded away. That hasn't happened. They're very much in this thing, especially in the American League Central, where Cleveland hasn't really asserted themselves yet. I know the Tigers are playing better ball right now, but it is going to be, I think, the White Sox that have a big say in how that division plays out over the season's final couple of months here.
Who would have thought both pairs of Sox are the teams that are really rising up?
Doing laundry.
Especially after the White Sox had 121 losses just 2 years ago. And now all of a sudden they're one of the best teams in the American League. That's why we love baseball. And Curtis, you're doing such a great job following this amazing sport. You're locked in with doing the pre- and post-game hosting for the Mariners and so much more. So love the good people at home know what's on tap for you and how people are able to follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, a lot of good content coming out here. I had a one-on-one with Team USA World Baseball Classic manager Mark DeRosa talking about Cal Raleigh's struggles, what he saw from him during the WBC. That's available on our Seattle Sports YouTube page. Also was joined this week by Mississippi State head baseball coach Brian O'Connor, as we talked about the MLB draft, because the Mariners took Mississippi State first baseman Ace Reese in the first round. So talked all about that as well with him. So a lot of great baseball content out there. Even though it was All-Star Week, we were churning it out left and right, so make sure you're heading there for any and all Northwest baseball content. And Greg, always happy to hop on with you, talk some baseball, and catch up. And I look forward to our next conversation. We're getting closer and closer to the deadline. Everybody's going to be making moves here real soon.
Yep, and man, there is just no shortage of fun right now in baseball with, a lot of mediocrity in the American League. But hey, you know what? We've got a lot of great races. Curtis is going to have a front row seat to them all, and every single time he joins me, he lends such great insight. So a big thanks to Curtis for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Next it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Sunday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by Curtis Rogers. He does such an amazing job over at 710 Seattle Sports. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights. Did so once again today. So big thanks to Curtis for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Sunday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @Unit_D1. We're going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go through the National League games first in time order, then the American League games, then the Intra-League games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. Start things off with 951, 952 on the card. The Mets, they're on the road against the Philadelphia Phillies as Alan Rangel goes for the Phils. Noah McLean for the Mets. The Mets do find themselves as minus 125 to minus 130 favorites. Plus 110 is what I'm finding on the Phillies. 8.5 is the total. The over on 8.5, minus 125 to minus 130. Under is between plus 110 to plus 105. I have to think that we're going to get some 9s here with the way that it's juiced. If I had to choose between an 8.5 to a 9, I would take a 9 under rather than an 8.5 over, as I did set my total here at an 8.7. And for the Phillies, I'm thinking that once the dime lines come out, we get a plus 115 or better. That'll land me on the Phillies. I was willing to take a plus 114 or better with them. For Alan Rangel, he's at a very small sample size here at the big league level, but I'm a little bit of a believer in him. I'm sort of lukewarm. He got a cup of coffee at the big league level last year as well in his appearances. 4.19 ERA. He's getting 10.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, 1.4 home runs per 9, but all of his struggles thus far this season have come on the road, mainly because most of his starts have come on the road, but I did like what I saw from him at the minor league level as well. 28 years old, so not like he's a super young gun or anything like that, but I do like his upside. Meanwhile, for Noah McLean, he's been really good in terms of getting swinging and miss this season. He's registering 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, just sometimes is a little bit inconsistent. 3.52 ERA with a 3.43 fielding dependent, because he has been giving up about 3.3 walks per 9 innings, and what I think is interesting about McLean, 2.55 road ERA, 4.47 ERA at home. He has been much better when he's been away from home. We're starting to see that Mets bullpen toilet bowl, as we've seen Austin Warren have some really big issues recently, like what I'm seeing of Luke Weaver, Oscar Brisbane, Brooks Raley. These have been guys who have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. And then for the Philadelphia Phillies, a little bit of a top-heavy bullpen, as Yohan Duran has been amazing, or Ryan Kirkring. They've been able to give you a sub-350 ERA. Chase Shogert has been okay along Tim Mesa, but they can be a little bit up and down as well. But when it comes to the flip side, you've got a Mets lineup that is just not good right now. It's been amazing what we've gotten out of Juan Soto thus far this season. Soto, 20 plus home runs, about a 400 on base, and Carson Bench is starting to pick it up a little bit. Double figure amount of homers, about a 325 on base. Francisco Alvarez also right around about a 325 on base, but likes of a Tyrone Taylor, Marcus Semien, Francisco Lindor, so many guys hitting at 220 or lower. Bo Bichette has an okay batting average, but hasn't been quite as expected, and when it comes to the Phillies, they do average closer to about 4.8 runs per game as at home. You've got Kyle Schwarber give you over 33 Schwarber bombs this year. He and Bryce Harper right around about 365 on base. Harper, 20 plus home runs. And Brandon Marsh hitting darn near 300. He's been solid. You're going to need more out of some of these mix and match outfielders like Armando Sosa. I'm pretty sure Adolis Garcia is injured. That's not a bad thing for this team. And Bryson Stott, Trey Turner, they've looked a little bit better in the infield, but still has been in a struggle for Alec Boehm. So I'd rather bank on the pitching rather than the offense here, especially with the Mets averaging about 3.8 runs per game away from home. So like the under and at plus 115 or better, which I think we get on the Phillies. Going to take them on money line. 9:53, 9:54 on the card. It's the Marlins. They are going to be on the road against the Milwaukee Brewers. Iri Perez is on the bump for the Fish, and Robert Gasser for the Milwaukee Brewers. Brewers are minus 130 to minus 131 favorites, plus 110 for the Fish. 8 is a total. Over and under between minus 105 to a minus 115, and I'm going to be in on the over. I did set my total here. I actually had an 8.9 for Iri Perez. Just eerie home and road splits throughout his career, and for Perez, he's looked much better since coming off the injury list, and even when he was going on the injury list, he had that no-hitter going, I believe, against the Toronto Blue Jays. He's given up just 4 runs in his last 4 starts. I just still do have to take a look at the career home and road splits. I do need to dock him for it a little bit, especially since his renaissance has been a little bit of a small sample size. Career 4.74 ERA away from home. He's giving up a little bit under 2 home runs per 9 innings at home, more like 0.9 home runs per 9 innings, 2.69 ERA. And Robert Gasser, well, he got absolutely gassed in his last start when he went up against the St. Louis Cardinals. But that said, I do think that there's some upside here. He does have that 5.20 fielding dependent, 1.9 home runs per 9 innings allowed, 5.24 ERA. That's relatively in line there. But for Gasser, he's also been significantly better when he's been at home rather than away from home this year. 3.48 home ERA, road ERA of a 6.66. He's going to need to fix that in his next road start. But for the Brewers as well, they do back him up with a top 6 bullpen. In terms of ERA, Trevor McGill, Abner Uribe, these have been guys who have been able to give you a sub 3.25 ERA. Having some like a Chad Patrick out there gives you some long relief. Jarred Canning coming off the injury list. That helps this team out as well. And when it comes to the Milwaukee Brewers, this lineup just finds a way to be able to generate runs, top 6 team in terms of run creation. They are dealing with a little bit of an injury to Bryce Terang. They had to put David Hamilton on the injured list as well, but still, Jackson Chourio, double-figure amount of homers. He's hitting just a hair below a 300. Even with Christian Yelich not necessarily doing a ton, you've got Andrew Vaughn, who gives you about a 400 on base. Jake Bauers has led the way with 17 home runs. He's over a 360 on base. Cooper Pratt might not be hitting for the world's greatest average, but again, he and Garrett Mitchell, guys that give you over a 350 on base, and for the Miami Marlins are almost the southeast version of the Milwaukee Brewers. They're a bottom 8 team in terms of home runs out of per at-bat basis. Liam Hicks has really been your main boom guy. He and Alberto Hernandez have been able to give you 13 home runs this season, with Hicks right around about a 360 on base. When it comes to Hernandez, he, Owen Casey, Kyle Sowers, all between 12 and 13 home runs. I think between about a 235 to a 240. This team's specialty, though, is stealing bases. Esteury Ruiz, 20 stolen bases. Jacob Marcy needs to pick up the 195 average, but 19 swipes. Otto Lopez is sitting at 335, 17 steals. Xavier Edwards, 14 steals, 300 average. So I mean, these two teams do a really good job in terms of playing small ball. And for the Miami Marlins, while they are a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA, do have a few question marks here. Michael Peterson has been solid, great name, sub 350 ERA, but Lake Bakar is starting to act up. John King and Anthony Bender now at the injured list as well. So I do like the over, so I might tell it at 8.9 for the Brewers. We'll delay up to minus 146 on the money line. 955, 956. The Reds, yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They're onto the road. They're facing off against the Colorado Rockies as Ryan Feltner goes for the Rockies. Hunter Green for the Reds. Reds minus 135 to minus 142 favorites, plus 115 to plus 120 for Colorado, and 11 is the total. The over is between minus 110 to a minus 115. Under is minus 105 to a minus 110, and I do like the over. I did, so I might throw it at an 11.7. For Hunter Green, we just haven't had a big sample size for him thus far. In the small sample size that we saw, he had that absolutely terrible start against the Baltimore Orioles, bounced back, had a really nice start in start number 2. So right now he's got a 6.97 ERA. One great start, one absolutely awful start. He's getting 16.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. I don't think that that'll be a mainstay. More of his career numbers, 11.3 strikeouts per 9, and as we know, Ball doesn't move quite as much over at Coors Field, so I do think that you're going to be able to get some runs in this game, and you got a pair of teams that are currently in the bottom 8 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. For the Rockies, Antonio Senzatella has honestly been relatively solid in this bullpen, but outside of him, not a lot of reliability whatsoever, as you've had the guys like Victor Vodnik post up an ERA well above a 5. Juan Mejia has been just all sorts of an issue for the team. Jay Nill has dealt with some injuries as well. For the Reds, they had to burn through quite a bit of that bullpen yesterday because Red Lauder did not give them the start that they were hoping for. And when it comes to TJ Anto and Brock and Rolberg, these have been guys that have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA, but Pierce Johnson has seen his ERA uplifted. Emilio Pagan is a guy that I just don't trust him whatsoever. And when it comes to this Reds lineup, you've got cousin Sal Stewart, who's really been able to carry the mail for the team. 19 home runs, right around about a 340 on base, and then Ellie De La Cruz, JJ Bleday, even Spencer Sear. All three of these guys entered into yesterday with 16 home runs, so getting a little bit of boom there. You need more at the bottom of the fold. TJ Friedel, Cabrines, whenever he's been out there, Novoli, Marte. You've got a lot of mix and match guys, the entire catcher spot just not really giving you much whatsoever outside of the entire catcher spot. Pretty much all those guys hit below a 200. Meanwhile, for the Colorado Rockies, Hunter Goodman is a good man. 27 home runs this season. And I will say, I think that like 17 of them have come away from him, but still, he's doing a nice job there. You've been able to have the likes of Cole Carrig, Jake McCarthy, Troy Johnson, TJ Romfield. These are guys all hitting at least a 290. Getting back Mickey Moniak helps out as well, but I just don't have a lot of faith in Ryan Feldner, along with that bullpen that I was mentioning as well. For Feldner, he's a guy that has been giving up about 1.5 home runs per 9 innings, 4.55 ERA. Fielding independent is more around about a 5.06, 6.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, so not a lot of whiff there. I do think that you get a higher scoring game, like the over, so I tell 11.7. For the Reds, made them a minus 163 favorite, so I'm in on the money line. 957, 958 on the card. The Cardinals are going to be on the road against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Eduardo Rodriguez goes for the Saints. Andre 3000 Palante for the Cardinals, and Cardinals to find themselves as a slim underdog here, between even money to plus 102, minus 118 to minus 120 for Arizona, and the total is 9. Over is minus 110 to minus 120, under is even to minus 110, and for the Diamondbacks, I'm going to be willing to lay it. I set them at a minus 138. Now, I do think that there's quite a bit of regression due in for Eduardo Rodriguez. Right now, he's rocking a really low ERA of a 2.29, but fielding dependent is more on that neighborhood, about a 4.11, 6.2 strikeouts, 3.1 walks per 9 innings, so he's pitching to a whole bunch of contact. Somehow, someway, he's only giving up 6 runs in his last 5 starts. And for Andre Palante, this is another guy that pitches to a lot of contact as well. So I'm in on the over. I did set my total at a 9.3 for Mr. Palante, about 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. To his credit, down to about 2.6 walks per 9, so he's been able to do a much better job there, and he's actually been much better away from home rather than at home this far this season. And for the Arizona Diamondbacks, one trepidation that you do have to have with this team, they just are not generating the same amount of power that they have in the past. You've got Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte. He's been able to supply the team with 17 home runs. He's sitting about at 255. And then Corbin Carroll, 14 home runs. His on-base percentage right around about a 340. Just have gotten nothing whatsoever out of Lourdes Gurriel. Has been injured, and when he's been out there, just has not been good. They're kicking the tires on Max Kepler, but Gabriel Moreno's hitting at 300. Geraldo Perdomo, he's been in and out of the lineup, but over 350 on base there. And for the Cardinals, they average over 5.5 runs per game away from home. Only the Dodgers averaging more runs per game away from home. Jordan Walker has been great, 22 home runs, hitting just below a 300. J.J. Weatherall to 350 on base. Ivan Herrera away from home, over a 400 on base. Alec Burleson, 15 home runs. And I mean, you've got one or two guys like a Pedro Paz towards the bottom of the fold who's been a little bit shaky, but all these guys have been solid. But you do take a look at the bullpen of the Cardinals. They're in the bottom 10 in terms of ERA, and now you've got Jojo Romero on the injury list, Matt Savanson, Ryan Stanek. These have been guys that have been supplying an ERA well above a 4 this season. George Soriano, Riley O'Brien have honestly been okay, but do have to have your question marks there. And for the Diamondbacks, I do have question marks with their closer and Paul Sewell, but Ryan Thompson, Kevin Ginkel, Jonathan Loaizaga, Taylor Clark, a lot of guys who have been able to go out there, just give you a sub 350 ERA. I think that's going to be enough to get the job done. Set the Diamondbacks under minus 138, like their money line, like the over. Set my total 9.3, 959, 960 on the card. The White Sox, they're going to be on the road against the Blue Jays as Trey Savage goes for the Jays. Sean Burke for the White Sox. White Sox minus 115 to minus 120 favorites, plus 102 to minus 105. That number on Toronto with a total of 8 to 8.5 on the 8. Over is minus 115, under is minus 105 on the 8.5. Under is minus 120, over is even. And I did set the Blue Jays here at a minus 135. I'm going to be willing to lay it. Maybe it's just me, but I just think that Trey Savage is really going to pick it up here in the second half of the season. He's been a hair below 9 strikeouts per 9 innings this year, 3.72 ERA, but does keep the ball in the yard, giving up about 0.8 home runs per 9 innings. And while the White Sox, they have been averaging about 4.9 runs per game, they also are a little bit of an all-or-nothing team. 20th in terms of road batting average, hovering right around about a 234 there. Meanwhile, for Sean Burke, he's had a nice season. 9.8 strikeouts per 9 innings, 1.1 home runs per 9, 3.41 ERA. And for the Blue Jays, this has been one of the most wretched offenses in all of baseball, but you've got guys who are able to move the line. Flagler Jr. continue to give you about a 340 on base. They are dealing with the injury to AC Sanchez, but Ernie Clement has been able to hit about a 280 plus whenever you've called upon Yohendrick Pinago. He's been a guy that's been able to get on base. Kazuma Okamoto, right now the lone form of offense, lone guy with 10 plus home runs this season with 22 home runs, and that's been the big reason why this Blue Jays team has been 27th in the league, averaging about 4.1 runs per game because they really don't strike out a lot. This team is a top 3 team in terms of few strikeouts on a per at-bat basis. Meanwhile, for the White Sox, obviously they're a little bit up there, and you do have Sam Antonassi, give you about a 375 on base. Getting back Montaka Murakami is nice, but he has yet to hit a home run since coming out the injury list, but still, he, Miguel Vargas, along with Colson Montgomery, have all been able to give you 20-plus home runs this season. For Murakami and Miguel Vargas, both give you at least a 355 on base. Tristan Peters just continues to move the line. He and Chase Meadroth between a 340 to a 350 on base. And for the White Sox, if you look since June 1st, the bullpen has actually been in the top 8 in the big leagues in terms of ERA. Still don't really trust in Sir Anthony Dominguez, Jordan Hicks, but you've been able to have a lot of these other mix-and-match guys do a really nice job. Trevor Richards has been okay in a little bit of a longer role. You don't trust in Brandon Eisert, and you get rid of him, but I mean, still, you've got Tyler Davis hovering right around about a 4 ERA, and then Sean Newcomb, Brian Hudson, some 3 ERAs out of them. Grant Taylor's been pretty solid as well. But for the Blue Jays, Louis Varland along with Tyler Rogers, probably the most trustworthy 2 relievers in this game. It's been a little bit mix and match after that with the likes of Alex Macko and company not necessarily doing an amazing job, but they were able to get a nice start yesterday, so that should be able to help them out here. And I do think that for the Blue Jays, they find a way to persevere. I did set them at a minus 135. I'm going to be willing to take them on the money line with this total. I did set mine at an 8.3, so right now seeing the 8s out there, I'm going to be willing to take an 8 to the over. 961, 962 on the card. The Rays are on the road against the Boston Red Sox. Sonny Gray hopes that it's a sunny day for Boston. Meanwhile, Shane McClanahan goes for the Rays between plus 103 to plus 110 is that number on the Rays, minus 125 to minus 130 for Boston. 8 to 8.5 is the total on the 8. Over is minus 115 to minus 125. Under is minus 105 to plus 105, and on the 8.5, over and under are anywhere between minus 105 to minus 115. And I'm going to be landing on the Rays on this one. I know that this Red Sox team has been a total bulldozer, but I really like the way that Shane McClanahan has been throwing this far this season. He does a nice job in terms of keeping things out in front of him. 0.6 home runs, 2.9 walks per nine, 283 ERA, 315 fielding dependent. Now with Sonny Gray, lower ERA at 254, but that 353 fielding dependent is 8 strikeouts per 9 innings. That's his lowest mark since 2016. That does have me a little bit concerned. Now it has me concerned about the Rays is that they have been in the bottom half of the big leagues. In terms of bullpen ERA, they have picked up the likes of Cam Boozer, Casey Lugumina. These have been nice pieces that have really been able to help out the bullpen, giving you a sub 350 ERA in a Rays uniform, but Cole Sulser posting up over a 5 ERA. Garrett Clevenger's been better recently, but he gave up a home run yesterday. They did only get 3 innings out of Ian Seymour. That's a little bit of an issue. And then for the Boston Red Sox, Garrett Woodlock has been tremendous. A sub 225 ERA out of him. Giovanni Morin, Aroldis Chapman, these guys have been pretty locked down. And all of a sudden for the Red Sox, even though they don't have a ton of power, this has been a team that's been towards the bottom of the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. You do have quite a few guys hovering between, we're going to call it about a 325 to a 343 on base. Masataka Yoshida, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Anthony Siegler, Ceddanne Rafaela, Weiler Abreu, all these guys. In Abreu, he's got like 4 home runs already in this series. He had 2 yesterday. I think they had 2 the day before. So he's been great. Meanwhile, for the Tampa Bay Rays, guess who else has been great? That guy in Junior Caminero, 13 home runs in his last 19 games, 370 on base. And then Yandy Diaz, along with Jonathan Aranda, 13 plus home runs apiece. Both give you over a 385 on base. And then likes of a Nick Fortes, along with Brandon Williamson. These guys move line. Chandler Simpson, one of the better base stealers in all of baseball. For Sonny Gray, I do think the fact that he's giving up much more contact than in the past going to catch up with him a little bit here. So I did set the Rays at a minus 104. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on them on the money line. I did make a total here of an 8.1. As for the Rays, they should be able to hold down a Red Sox team that coming into this series are averaging just 3.55 runs per game at home, lowest in all baseball. So on that 8.5, I like the under. 963 and 964, it's the Astros. They're going to be playing us the Baltimore Orioles as Brandon Young gets a start for the O's. Hunter Brown for the Houston Astros. Astros are between minus 112 to minus 120 favorites. Even money to minus 105 is that number on the O's, and right now I'm seeing a total in a lot of places of an 8 with the over and under, both at minus 110, seeing one straight 8.5. That under is minus 120 and the over is even money, and I'm going to be landing on the Astros here. I did set them at a minus 139. For Hunter Brown, he has had some massive command issues. He's still getting the 9.9 strikeouts per 9 innings, so he's been able to do a nice job in terms of being able to get you those swing and misses, but still, walks per 9 rate, that's currently a 5.6. That's been very much less than savory, but have a guy in Young that I think is doing for a lot of regression. Right now, he's getting about 7.2 strikeouts, 3.3 walks per 9 innings, and he's got that rock solid 3.43 ERA, but again, a little bit north of a 4 fielding independent, so do I have to take some caution there? Then now you've got a Houston Astros bullpen that ever since Josh Hader has gotten back, they have been so much better. Ever since Hader has gotten back, since June 1st to be exact, they have been second in the big leagues with a 2.99 bullpen ERA. I recognize that yesterday was a little bit of a rough one for them because they couldn't drive men in to save their lives, and Brian Abreu has still been rough. He and Aniel de los Santos both have north of a 4.30 ERA, but the likes of Stephen Okert, along with Hader, who I mentioned before, Brian King, these have been guys that have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA, so they've been able to do a rock solid job. For the Astros, they are going to need men to be able to drive them in because Christian Walker, Jeremy Pena, right now they're dealing with a little bit of injury, and the outfield just has been a big giant mix and match sort of ordeal, and has been going very great. Bryce Matthews is on the injury list. That doesn't really hurt this team. Cam Smith does give you 11 home runs, but he, Joey Looper Fido, Zach Cole, Zach DeZenzo, so many guys, and you get 230 or lower, and Yanir Diaz at the catcher spot just doesn't give you any sort of on base whatsoever, but Isaac Paredes has been able to give you about a 350 on base, and then Yordan Alvarez, 30 plus home runs. He's been able to do a really nice job giving you over a 400 on base as well. And then flip side for the Baltimore Orioles, you got a lineup that has been averaging about 4.3 runs per game away from home, slightly below average. You just see more out of some of these guys at the bottom. Jackson Holiday, Kobe Mayo, Tyler O'Neill, lots of guys. You got 225 or lower. Colin Cowser, you can throw him in there as well. Ali Rushman, Samuel Basayo, these have been guys who have been hitting in that neighborhood about a 240 to 250, and Basayo up to 15 plus home runs. Pete Alonso is up to right around about 20 bombs, 345 on base, and even though Taylor Ward hasn't hit a lot of homers, 385 on base, so you do like that. And for the Orioles, Ynier Cano, Uncle Rico Garcia, they've been able to give you a sub-3 ERA, and you've been able to get a little bit more recently out of Tyler Wells as well, but I do think that you still have to have some trepidation with some of these other mix and match guys. Andrew Kittredge has been better, but still around 4 ERA. Someone like a Cam Sanders, Grant Wolfram, not necessarily too reliable, and I do think that both of these starters give it up a bit here. So I do like the over. I did set my total at an 8.2, and with regards to this one, I'm willing to lay up to a minus 138 on the Astros on the money line. 965, 966 on the card. The Tigers are going to be on the road against the LA Angels. Ryan Johnson goes for the Angels. Casey Mize for the Detroit Tigers. Tigers minus 142 to minus 156 favorites. Plus 120 to plus 130 is that number on the Halos. 8.5 to 9 is the total on the 8.5. Over is minus 125. The under is plus 105. And on the 9, the over and the under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. And with the Tigers, I did set them out at minus 158 on the money line. I'm going to be willing to take them here, and I do like this under. I set my total at an 8.1, mainly because the LA Angels just have not been the same team in terms of scoring when they've been at home rather than away from home. For the LA Angels, they are 5th worst in the league in terms of scoring at home with about 3.9 runs per game. They average 4.9 runs per game away from home, and the Tigers' offense not necessarily knocking your socks off either. About 4.1 runs per game away from home. That's a bottom 8 mark in all of baseball, so I do think that both of these offenses are going to have their issues. Ryan Johnson certainly has had his issues as well. It's looked a little bit better recently, but boy, the fact that they're giving him starts, it's not great. 6.75 ERA, closer to a 6.37 fielding dependent, 2.4 home runs, 3.5 walks allowed per 9 innings. I'm just banking on Casey Mize for the under because Casey Mize has been tremendous this year. A 2.79 ERA, a fielding dependent of a 2.69, 0.6 home runs, 2.1 walks allowed per 9 innings. He's getting 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, and for Casey Mize, he has still been a very rock-solid pitcher away from home. That ERA does go up to about a 3.11, but still, love what he's been able to bring to the table. For the Tigers, you do have a pair of guys that have done a really nice job finding a way on base. Kevin McGonigal, along with Riley Green, are both supplying a 375 plus on base. Having the injuries that they've had, the likes of Gleyber Torres, Javi Baez have certainly hurt this team. That's why you've got the likes of Zach McKinstry, Spencer Torkelson, Matt Vierling, James Outman, Jacob Rogers. I mean, man, a lot of guys hitting at 225 or lower in this team. Gary Carpenter is only in at 220 as well. I mean, for he and Spencer Torkelson, both give you some relatively okay power, but you're going to need a little bit more there. But Dylan Dingler, he's been able to give you 19 bombs. Flip side for the LA Angels, Zach Neto, he's up to 19 home runs. Doesn't necessarily hit for a lot of average, but he's been able to give you that power. Joedel, 13 home runs, but less than a 300 on base. Vaughn Grisham has been up and down. They traded away Donovan Walton. Jose Siri seems to be regressing a little bit, so big issues there. Logan O'Hoppe, can't be O'Hoppe about the fact that he's got a 209 average and 4 home runs this season. Angels since June 1st have been a league average team with their bullpen ERA. It hasn't been awful. Mitch Ferris, Jose Fermin, Sammy Natera, like these are not guys that are household names, but they've been able to give you a sub-4 ERA. Kirby Yates has been relatively okay for the team, and all of a sudden the Detroit Tigers, really since June 1st, they too have been a top 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA. You've been able to get great production out of Tyler Holton, down below a sub-350 ERA. Don't trust in Kenley Jansen, but Kadir Montero has been a really good long guy for the team. Drew Summers is starting to toilet bowl a little bit, but Kyle Finnegan has been solid. So, do you think that in a lower scoring game, Tigers go out there, dominate this one? I'm going to be willing to take them on the money line, set them at a minus 158. I do like the under. I set my total at an 8.1, 967, 968 on the card. It is the Rangers. They are going to be on the road facing off against the Atlanta Braves. We do know that Grant Holmes is going to be on the bump for the Braves, looking like Nathan Eovaldi for the Texas Rangers. Rangers open up at a minus 122, plus 104 is that number on the Braves, and total is a 9. Under is minus 120, and the over is even, and I will be on the Braves. I did set them at a minus 113. For Nathan Eovaldi, it's just been a case where he's been giving up a lot of deep balls this far this season, and for Eovaldi, he does have some home and road splits as well, because with Arlington, it really does a great job in terms of suppressing offense. 404 ERA, 402 fielding dependent, but the 1.5 home runs per 9 innings does really nullify the fact that he's been able to get 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. It's only giving up about 2.1 walks per 9 as well, and for Nathan Eovaldi, when he's been away from home, he's still been giving up well above 1.25 home runs per 9 innings. Meanwhile, for Grant Holmes, 361 ERA. You do have to have caution that fact that he's got a 503 fielding dependent. He's given up 1.5 home runs per 9 innings as well. Rangers have played like each of their last either 8 or 9 games to the over. They've been on a hot run there. Getting back Wyatt Langford has been a big reason why, but still, this has been a Texas team that has been in the bottom 6 in the big leagues, averaging about 4.1 runs per game. That does go up to about 4.3 away from them, but still have to have some issues there. Jake Berger along Jock Peterson, 14 plus home runs, and in the case of Peterson, he's been able to give you closer to about a 340 on base. This is a little bit more of a mix and match team with Josh Voskew hitting about a 280. Like I said, with Langford, he's hitting about a 275. Brandon Nimmo has been able to move the line along with Ezekiel Durant, both between about a 265 to 270. And Josh Young hitting darn near 300 along with Nicky Lopez. Meanwhile, for the Atlanta Braves, Drake Baldwin seems to be finding it after he was a little bit rusty coming off the injury list. He, Matt Olson, Ozzie Albies, Mauricio Dubon, all in between about a 263 to 270. Not necessarily the world's greatest on base for most of these guys, but Olson obviously has been able to supply the 25 plus bombs. Michael Harris, he's hitting at 300. He's been able to give you 17 home runs. Tom Smith continues to move line for the team, and for the Atlanta Braves, this continues to be a top 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA. It's been a little bit more mix and match, and Owen Murphy only went 2 2/3 innings yesterday, so that's not necessarily great. But Dylan Lee, Dylan Dodd, they've been able to give you a sub 235 ERA. They're dealing with the injury to Robert Suarez, but Racio Iglesias, Didier Fuentes, these guys have been able to give you a sub 275 ERA. Used a lot of the bullpen yesterday. A lot of these guys were used for fewer than 20 pitches, so they should be all good to go here. And then for the Texas Rangers, we've seen Jacob June and Tyler Alexander be really good in the bullpen. They've been able to give you sub 3 ERA. Jacob Latz has been very rock solid as well, but some of these mix and match guys like a Cole Winn, Robbie Alstrom, they just have not been able to give you too much this season. Do like what I'm seeing out of Peyton Gray, but I do think that you get a little bit of a higher scoring game, like the over sub I told 9.1, and for the Braves, made them the minus 113 favorite, taking them on the money line. 969, 970 on the card. It's the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're going to be on the road against the Cleveland Guardians, as it is Paul Skeens on the bump for the Buccos, and Joey Cantillo goes for Cleveland. Cleveland is a underdog here between plus 105 to a plus 110, minus 124 to minus 131 for the Buccos. 7 to 7.5 is the total on the 7.5 unders, minus 120, and the overs even on the 7. Over and under both at minus 110. Going to be willing to take the Pirates here. I did set them at a minus 143 for Joey Cantillo. He's on a little bit of extended rest. We'll see if that does anything for him, because I feel like for Joey Cantillo, he's honestly lucky. He hasn't given up more runs than what he has this year. Right now, 356 ERA, but closer to a 408 fielding dependent. He does get 9.4 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 4.4 walks per 9 innings. That's been a big giant issue. And for Paul Skeens, certainly we've seen the ERA go up a little bit from a season ago, but still, I feel like he's been pitching relatively well. You know, look at the strikeouts per 9 rate being at 10.8. That's rock solid. 2 home runs, 0.9 home runs allowed per 9 innings. 357 ERA, but closer to a 288 fielding dependent. Just has really been done in by his defense a lot, and that's something that you do need to factor in for the Pittsburgh Pirates. You also have to factor in the fact that the Pittsburgh Pirates obviously had a nice marathon day yesterday, but you know what, for this team, even though they do average more runs when they've been at home they're averaging a league best 5.7 runs per game. They're still averaging like 4.9 or so runs per game away from home, and got a lot of guys getting on. Nick Gonzalez, Emmanuel Valdez, Jake Magnum, these guys have been able to hit 300 plus. You've been able to get great production out of Brian Reynolds. He's up to about a 400 on base. Brandon Lau has been the main guy in terms of the power. He's been able to give you 20 plus home runs. And even without O'Neal Cruz, they really have not suffered any sort of a setback. Meanwhile, for the Cleveland Guardians, in their last 36 games, they're averaging about 3.6 runs per game. Stephen Kwan hitting at 230. You just need more there. And then likes of David Fry, Reese Hoskins, Daniel Schneemann, Halpin in the outfield. Like, so many guys are hitting at 215 or lower. Patrick Bailey at the catcher spot has been terrible. You do have the likes of Travis Bazzana, Chase DeLauder, Brian Rocchio, all above 325 on base, but really nobody on this team with more than 11 home runs. It is a Guardians team that does have the better bullpen. They've been a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Sean Armstrong has not really been great, but you do have Hunter Gaddis down below sub 350 ERA. Eric Zabrowski, Kate Smith have been relatively solid, and I like what Colin Holderman brings to the table as well. For the Pirates, having Evan Sisk on the injury list, that's been hurting them a little bit, but Carmen Bolshinski in game number 1 yesterday, being able to save the bullpen, that was big for them, because got a lot of these guys like Dennis Santana, Gregory Soto start to regress a little bit, but do think that the Pirates should be able to get the job done here. Maybe my total 7.6, so I do like the 7.5 to the over, and I'm going to be willing to take the Pirates here on the money line. 971, 972, it's the Padres who are going to be on the road against the Royals. Noah Cameron goes for the Royals, and Udaman Marquez goes for the Padres. Padres who find themselves as a underdog here, as getting them between plus 107 to a plus 114. Meanwhile, minus 125 to a minus 134. That number on Kansas City, 10 to 10.5 is the total on the 10.5. Under is minus 120, the over is even on the 10. The over is minus 115, the under is minus 105. I do like the under. I did set my total at a 9.8 now. Germán Marquez is just absolutely terrible. Like, a lot of people thought that his numbers were so bad because he was pitching in Coors Field and everything like that. No, guy just stinks. 5.18 ERA, close to a 6.89 fielding opponent, 2.2 home runs, 4.3 walks allowed per 9, innings ball and getting 6 punch-outs per 9. And while Noah Cameron has a 4.89 ERA, fielding opponent is a 4.03. He's pitched better than this. 8.6 strikeouts, 1.2 home runs per 9 innings, and they need him to go deep because it has been a Royals bullpen that's been royally awful. They are in the bottom 5 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, as having Carlos Estevez on the injury list all season long has really hurt this team. But what else has hurt this team is the likes of Steven Cruz, Lucas Ursage, Alex Lang, providing well above a 4.50 ERA. Matt Strom has been terrible for the team as well. And Royals are still in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run creation. Recognize that they have been better at home. At home, they're averaging closer to about 4.9 or so runs per game. Bobby Witt Jr. is obviously doing his part, 30-plus stolen bases, 350 on base, double-figure amount of homers. Salvador Perez is up to 12 home runs, but 253 on base. Isaac Collins, along with Nick Lofton, they do give you a 330 plus on base at the bottom of the fold. Carter Jensen, Jack Caglione, these guys have been able to give you 13 plus homers, but just not a lot of pizzazz here. And for the Padres, dead second last in terms of run creation. Fernando Tatis Jr. is up to 6 home runs, yay, verily there, and 350 on base, much better than most of these guys. Wow. You've got Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, Gavin Sheets, Jake Cronenworth, Freddie Fermin, so many guys hitting at 225 or lower, so that has been just miserable. Now, Machado does give you 18 plus home runs, but still, that's been a little bit of an issue. And for the Padres, they do have a very good bullpen. You've got a lot of guys, Yuki Matsui, Bradley Rodriguez, obviously Mason Miller, among others that have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA, but now you are dealing with an injury to Jason Adams, so that's a little bit of a sticky spot here. Did set by total 9.8. I'm going to be in on the under, and for the Royals, one delay up to minus 135 on the money line, 973, 974 on the card. It's the Minnesota Twins. They're going to be on the road against the Chicago Cubs. Shota Imanaga goes for the Cubs. Zebby Matthews for the Twins. Opening total is an 8, under is minus 120. The over is even for the Cubs, minus 162 to minus 172 is that number, plus 136 to a plus 145 on the Minnesota Twins. For the Twins, I did make their money line more in that neighborhood of a minus 162, but right now I'm seeing an opening run line over at FanDuel at a plus 140. I'm not sure if we quite get it, but I'll be landing on the plus 140 to lay a run and a half here. The wind is going to be blowing in a little bit more. That's why you've got a suppressed total here. And with regards to mine, I did set mine at a 7.6. So at an 8, I'm in on the under. If this turns into a 7.5, I'll be in on the over. A lot of places don't have this up overnight, but initially saw an 8. I would be willing to take it to the under. And I do think that Shota Imanaga is going to be doing for a little bit of positivity. It's been a very rough season for him right now. He's posting up a 4.17 ERA, fielding dependent more around a 4.64 because he's just been allowing the hard contact, 1.8 home runs per 9 innings. And when I say rough season since, I would say middle of May. Like the first month and a half of the season, guy was rocking and rolling, and then things toilet bowled. But he should be benefiting from the fact that the Minnesota Twins have been dealing with the injury to Byron Buxton, so that hamstrings the offense a little bit for the Twins. You still have a few guys that are doing a nice job moving the line, getting on base. Ryan Jeffers has been able to give you about a 4 on base, and then Alec Martin right around about a 360 on base himself. But you look at the lineup that they trotted out there yesterday, only 2 guys hitting above a 265 or so. Trevor Larnage, about a 375 on base. Josh Bell's been able to give you double-figure amount of homers and 1-2 runs of the game, where Cody Clemens hitting home runs 17 and 18 of the season. But there's a big void without Byron Buxton, and for the Cubs, you still have Pete Crow Armstrong, who's been amazing. Ever since he told off that fan, he has been one of the best hitters in all baseball. 380 on base, 20-plus home runs out of him. And then you do have likes of Seiya Suzuki, Carson Kelly, Michael Busch, who've been able to give you over a 350 on base. It's been better for Dansby Swanson recently. I'm still not necessarily the biggest believer in him because he has been very all or nothing thus far this season. And for the Cubs, you do have to be monitoring the fact that they are dealing with a lot of injuries in the bullpen. You do have the likes of Trent Thornton, Jacob Webb, that have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Both of them did have to go yesterday, and that hurts because you've got the likes of Bobby Milner, Daniel Palencia, Riley Martin on the injured list, but getting back Phil Matoney, even though he hasn't been great this year, I think that could be a little bit of a help for them. And for the Minnesota Twins, the biggest trepidation they have with taking an under of 8 or higher is the fact that this bullpen is absolutely awful. Travis Adams and Andrew Morris, these are 2 young guys that perhaps have a little bit of upside. Adams has been awful. Morris has been able to come along for the ride. He and Yandris Gomez are like the lone 2 guys in this bullpen with sub-4 ERA. Taylor Rogers, Anthony Banda, so many of these guys have just not been able to produce, to say the least. And for Zebby Matthews last year, 10-plus strikeouts per 9 innings, and we have seen that really go downward this season. He's getting fewer than 7.5 strikeouts strikeouts per 9 innings right now. He's been able to keep the walks out in front of him, but he is giving up over 1.7 home runs per 9 innings, 4.57 ERA. That's a little bit of a concern. Goes up to 6.17 away from home, but I do think that the wind blowing in is really going to be suppressing the offense here. So I do like the under, and for the Cubs at a plus 130 or better, I'll be in on that run line. 975, 976. It's the Athletics. They are going to be playing us to the Washington Nationals. Foster Griffin goes for the Nationals, and it is Mr. Jacob Lopez going for the Athletics. Right now, that total is 10.5. Over is minus 110 to a minus 115. Under is minus 105 to a minus 110. Anywhere between minus 130 to minus 145 is that number on Washington, and between plus 118 to a plus 123 is that number on the Athletics. And I'm going to be willing to side here with the Nationals. I'd be willing to go up to a minus 132 here for Foster Griffin. I do think that he's doing for a little bit of regression, and that's a big reason why I'm going to be taking a shot on the over, but I just have absolutely no faith whatsoever in Jacob Lopez, a guy that has really been coming out of the bullpen throughout much of the year this year, so he's probably not even fully stretched out. 683 or a 597 fielding dependent. 5.5 walks per 9 innings, not great to say the least, and he's backed up by a bullpen that's currently in the bottom 6 in the big leagues. In terms of ERA, really, both of these bullpens are in the bottom 6 because for the Washington Nationals, Brad Lord being on the injury list along with Richard Dickey Lovelady, that's not great. Orlando Robolta has been able to give you a sub-4 ERA, but Paxton Schultz has been all sorts of awful. They're kicking the tires on Justin Lawrence, who was awful with the Pirates this season. And then Junior Tour, in his first appearance with the Athletics, got completely destroyed. Jose Suarez, Luis Medina, 4+ ERAs out of them. Justin Sterner's on the injury list. Mark Leiter Jr. should not be in a bullpen. So you've got a lot of issues there. And for the Athletics, they're obviously a little bit hampered with their lineup with Nick Kurtz being out of the fold. But you saw Shea Langolaris. Shea is banged for 22 home runs. He's hitting above his 250. And then Jacob Wilson has come off of injury. He's been able to above a 275. Tyler Soderstrom, like ever since the beginning of the month of June, this guy has been absolutely fantastic. So that's going to be able to help out the lineup. Since then, he's been posting up like darn near 400 on base. He's been able to really pick up his offense. And for the Washington Nationals, they're currently numero uno in terms of run creation. Going into yesterday, James Wood giving you good Wood with 28 home runs over a 370 on base. Luis Garcia, CJ Abrams, 20 home runs apiece. And you're getting more out of Keibert Ruiz. Doesn't draw a lot of walks, but he is for about a 275. Even your lesser guys like Jose Tena, Dallin Lyle, Nasim Nunez, these are guys hitting above a 245. Jacob Cruz has not really been able to come along for the ride, but I do think that they're going to be able to slug their way to victory. And again, for Foster Griffin, while I love what I've seen out of him thus far this season, I do think that he's going to give up a few runs in this ordeal as well. Right now, rocking at 277 ERA, but that fielding dependent more around a 402, 1.4 home runs, 2.1 walks per 9 innings. So I do like the over, so my total 10.7, and with the Nats, I'm a little after minus 132 on the money line. 977 and 978 on the card. It's the Giants are going to be on the road against the Mariners as Logan Gilbert goes for the M's. Robbie Ray says hip hip hooray to another start. And with the Mariners, you're finding them as a pretty good size favorite here. And between minus 166 to a minus 175, plus 144 to a plus 152 is that number on Seattle. 7 to 7.5 is the total on the 7.5. Under is minus 120. The over is even on the 7. Over is minus 125. Under is plus 105. Set a total here of a 7.1. So I'm looking at the 7.5 to the under. And right now with the Mariners run line, that's between plus 125 to a plus 130. Pretty much anything of a plus 122 or better. I was willing to take a shot on the run line. I do think that Robbie Ray is going to be very much exposed in this one. Now, for Robbie Ray, he has been just a home merchant thus far this season because he pitches in one of the most pitcher-friendly ballparks in all of baseball, and now he's back in one of the most pitcher-friendly ballparks in all of baseball. And keep in mind that he used to be a Seattle Mariner, so he does know how to be able to keep the ball in the yard a little bit more here, but you look at those home and road splits, and they are quite extreme. 244 ERA at home, and at home, he's giving up about 0.8 home runs per 9 innings. Away from home, over 1.9 home runs per 9 innings, 453 ERA. And Logan Gilbert has actually been stunningly much worse when he's been at home rather than away from home. It makes no sense. Overall, 3.32 ERA, 1.1 home runs, 1.9 walks per 9 innings, and I've liked what I've seen out of him thus far this season, but for Logan Gilbert, when he has been away from home, he is absolutely cleaning shop with a 2.23 ERA, giving up 1 home run in 48 plus innings. At home, he's giving up darn near 2 home runs per 9 innings at a 4.11 ERA, so that does put me in on the over. And for the Giants, they have been a team that's been averaging nearly a half a run more per game when they've been away from home rather than at home. Again, that's just San Francisco's suppressing offense. Bryce Eldridge has been able to move the line along. Casey Schmidt, both of these guys along with Eloy Ramos hitting between about a 270 to a 280. with Schmidt been able to lead the way with 18 plus home runs. And hey, Rafael Devers, 18 plus home runs out of him. He's been a little bit better recently. Willie Thomas has been able to give you some power, but still 280 on base. You need a little bit more there. They're getting Daniel Susich back at the catcher spot. That should be able to help them out a little bit. And for the Mariners, Cal Raleigh has just been miserably bad thus far this season. We talked about it with Curtis Rogers, J.P. Crawford. He does give you a double-figure amount of bombs at a 332 on base, but hitting just a 215. They are getting back Julio Rodriguez. Dom Ganzone, Luke Raley have been able to give you 13 plus home runs. And for the Mariners, while they've been a top 10 team in terms of bullpen area thus far this season, they are dealing with Cooper Criswell, Matt Brash being on the injury list. Nick Davia has started to regress a little bit. Jose Ferrer, Edward Bizarro, Gabe Spire, they've been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. And then with this Giants bullpen, it has been a giant disappointment here recently as you're getting back JT Brubaker. That's solid. He's been able to give you sub 350 ERA. Caleb Killian, Dylan Smith, Eric Miller, these are guys giving you north of 350 ERA. Keaton Wynn should be able to help out a little bit there, but I think Robbie Ray gets exposed. So give me the run line here of the Mariners, and I'm going to be in on the over. And then the last game is two games, as we've got now a double dip between the Dodgers and the Yankees, 979, 980, and 981, 982. Now, 981, 982 is going to be Yoshinobu Yamamoto against Cam Schlittler. This was supposed to be the Sunday Night Baseball game, and right now for Sunday Night Baseball, it's TBD. I would have to think that we are going to be getting the matchup that we were supposed to on Saturday, with it being Emmett Sheehan versus Ryan Weathers, so I will handicap that accordingly. But that said, in terms of Yamamoto versus Schlittler, we do have some numbers out, with the Yankees being between even money to -110, -110 to -120. That number for the Dodgers, 7.5 to 8 is the total on the 8, over and under both at -110. On the 7.5, over and under anywhere between -105 to -115. And in Yamamoto versus Schlittler, mostly seeing 7.5, I will be willing to take a shot on the over. Now, Cam Schlittler has been absolutely amazing thus far this season, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto, for his career, he's got an ERA that is a full point lower when he is away from home rather than at home, but I'm willing to trust in Schlittler in this ordeal because he's been able to do a nice job keeping the ball in the yard, 0.9 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 10.4 strikeouts per 9. Now, you do want to know with Cam Schlittler, he does give up more runs when he has been at home rather than away from home. For Schlittler, when he has been on the road, a 118 ERA compared to a 359 at home, he actually gives up pretty much a same home runs per 9 rate in both locations, but something that you do want to note there, and Yamamoto has been down a little bit with his swing and miss stuff from past years, 285 ERA, closer to a 335 fielding dependent, down to about 8.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he is backed up by a Dodgers lineup that is averaging 6 runs per game away from him this year. That is numero uno in all of baseball. After a little bit of a, shall we say, slow start with regards to the deep ball, Shohei Ohtani has been able to get back online. He's been able to give you that over 400 on base that we all know and love. He's back up to 22 home runs, and then you've got a lot of guys hovering in that neighborhood about 16 to 18 home runs, even 15. Freddie Freeman, Andy Paz, Max Muncy, all in that fold, and I think these are all guys hitting at least a 260. Everyone aside from Paz has been able to give you above a 350 on base there. Dolan Rushing has not necessarily been great at the catcher spot, but he's still been serviceable. Mookie Betts has really been able to pick it up a little bit, and for the Yankees, last 22 games, they've been averaging less than 3.5 runs per game, but I do think that they can break through here. You've got Ben Rice, give you 29 home runs, 375-ish on base. Jazz Chisholm just continues to be a little bit of a disappointment. You do have, though, Paul Goldschmidt had a rough end of the first half, but he's still been able to give you 15 home runs. He's had a little bit of a career renaissance. Cody Bellinger's move a line, give you about a 345 on base, and to the credit of the Yankees, they're actually number one in terms of bullpen ERA as well, as you've got so many guys who have been able to pick it up. Paul Blackburn, Brent Hedrick, these guys have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. You've also been able to get really good innings recently out of David Bednar. He was a little bit rough to begin the season. He's been solid. These mix-and-match guys like an Anel Shavili even has been pretty solid, and for the LA Dodgers, this is still a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Tanner Scott has been great Scott for the team with a sub-3 ERA. I like what I've seen out of Alex Vesia, but Jack Dreher has been a little bit more rough. Edgar Enriquez up and down, but he's down to below a 250 ERA, so he has been solid, but Kyle Hurd, he's seeing his ERA go up to about a 5, so I do think that you're going to have a little bit of breakthrough with the offense here. For the Yankees, I'm willing to take them in this spot. I set them at a -104, and at a 7.5 or less, I'm going to be in on the over. And then assuming that we get what we were supposed to yesterday, Emmett Sheehan versus Ryan Weathers, the Dodgers and Yankees were about to pick them. That total was 8.5 to 9. I'd be back in on the over, and I'd be willing to lay up to a -110 with the Dodgers. Ryan Weathers has just been giving up too much hard contact, over a 4 ERA, and he's giving up over 1.5 home runs per 9 innings. And Emmett Sheehan, he has been a guy that has very much benefited throughout his career from pitching in Dodger Stadium, and he's had a rough season as well. 4.81 ERA. That fielding independent is more than a 4.34 because he does get 10.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, but still, with him, 1.6 home runs, 2.8 walks allowed per 9 innings, and this is the career numbers of Emmett Sheehan, 3.20 home ERA, 5.46 ERA away from home. At home, 1.1 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 1.9 away from home. So assuming that game 2 is going to be similar to what we get yesterday, up to a -110 with Sheehan and the Dodgers, and the over going to be the plays there. And that'll wrap things up for the Sunday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to Curtis Rogers, who does such amazing work over at 710 Seattle Sports. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, do have 1 or 2 ways we'll fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at GUNet_D1. Keep in mind, Larry CM, they mean does not matter. So, per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is via an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to on this podcast via that 5-star review, coming at you guys every single day with picks and analysis on every game, every day. So, I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.